My name is Greg. I'm 25 years old and work for an AI company. The story I'm about to tell you happened about a year ago. You'd think a ring cam would make you feel safer, right? Not me. Not anymore. I saw 4 people on my ring cam over 4 nights. Different people. I didn't know them. They were strangers. They weren't burglars. They didn't try and steal anything. They just stood there, watching me, smiling into the camera, waiting. Somehow, one of them knew my name. I got the ring cam a month after moving in. I was in a new town, in a new house. I was living alone for the first time in my life. The ring cam gave me a sense of control and security. Well, until that night. It was Friday, just past midnight. I was brushing my teeth when I heard the chime. Motion detected at your front door. I grabbed my phone and saw him. A man, just standing on my porch. He wasn't moving. He had his back to the camera. He was totally still. Not swaying, nothing, just frozen. I really couldn't even tell how old he was. I creaked open the door just a pinch and said, "Can I help you?" That was a total mistake. Within what seemed like a second, he rushed the door screaming, "Yes, you can." He spoke in a hissing sound voice. I quickly slammed the door shut. My heart was pounding. Then I heard him laughing this guttural laugh. I was frozen and kneeling down at the base of the door. I slowly got up and looked through the peephole. He had his face pressed right up next to the door. He was so close I could see the leftover food in his teeth. But what really freaked me out were his eyes. The guy appeared to have no eyelids. I'm not kidding. It looked like someone had cut them off. His eyeballs were dry and red, and he wasn't blinking. Then he leaned forward again and smiled this big, fake, weird smile. I heard him say, "I see you," in that hissing voice again. I didn't call the cops. I don't know why. I just waited for him to leave. At 12:18, he turned and walked into the woods. No flashlight, no phone, just walked into the trees and vanished. I watched the footage again the next morning, and that's when I noticed. He mouthed something at the very end. I couldn't hear it, but he said, "First." Saturday, I barely slept. I spent the day telling myself it was a prank, a fluke, someone messing around. Then 1:07 a.m. came. Another notification. When I opened the app, I didn't see anything at first, just my empty porch. Then the feed flickered, and all of a sudden she was there. A young woman. She looked kind of like an elf or a muse. Hard to say. It was hard to describe. What's odd is she wasn't doing anything. She was just smiling and looking straight into the camera. But it was an off smile, not a grin, not a smirk, just perfectly symmetrical. Like she had to hold a smile for too long and it became unnatural. But then The longer I stared, the more I realized something. She wasn't smiling. Her mouth was sewn that way. Thin, almost invisible black thread crisscrossed the corners of her lips, holding them in place. She didn't move. She didn't blink. At 1:19, she turned her head sharply towards the camera, like a sudden jolt. Her smile didn't change, but tears started to pour down her face. She was crying. Hard, without making a sound. And then she pointed at the door, not in a generic way, at the lock. I turned off the app and backed away. But the next morning, I checked the footage again. Before the feed cut out, she mouthed one word. Second. Sunday night, I didn't sleep at all. I just sat in the living room with every light on. Nothing happened until 3 a.m., right on the dot. Motion detected at your front door, said the ring cam. I opened the app. He was standing closer than the others. A man in his 20s, I think. Scruffy beard, eyes closed, slumped posture. He didn't appear to have any clothes on. His hands dangled at his sides, trembling a little. His mouth was drooling. He looked confused, like he didn't know why he was even there. He was swaying back and forth rhythmically, over and over, from side to side. And then he just all of a sudden waved. A smile and a broken, small wave. I swear to God, he started crying, silently. Tears streamed down his face, but he never opened his eyes. He got right up to the camera and just stared at the camera and reached into his waistband. He pulled out something small, a piece of paper. He held it up. It had my full name on it, my first and last name. No address, just my name. He held it to his chest and smiled. Then, at 3:08, he dropped the paper, walked backwards off the porch. I checked outside as soon as the sun rose. The paper was still there. On the back, in what looked like charcoal, someone had written, "Third." By Monday, I was losing it. I called the police, filed a report, and showed them the videos. They said it looked like a weird prank and told me that they'd increase patrols. That night, I waited. I didn't turn the lights off. I didn't even blink. When the notification came, it was 2:41 a.m. I already had the app open. She was already out there. A woman in her 30s, maybe. She was holding something. A birthday balloon. It said, "For today." She stood still for a while, then she tilted her head and began to speak. But there was no sound. I could tell she was talking. Slow, careful words. Rehearsed. I turned up the volume. Nothing. Just silence. Then she smiled and said my name. I read her lips, clearly. "Hello, Greg." Then she pulled something out of her clothes. A photo. She held it up to the camera. It was me, asleep in my bed. My jaw dropped. She tapped the photo twice, then pointed up at the bedroom window. I ran over to the window, but I saw nothing. When I looked down, it was just darkness. I sprinted outside. She was already gone. No sign of her, or the balloon, or the photo. but the ring footage was still there, and before the clip ended, she whispered one last word. I watched her lips form it. Fourth. I uninstalled the app. I unmounted the camera. I now sleep with the lights on, the doors locked, the windows boarded, but it doesn't seem to matter, because now I get notes, slipped under the door, left on my windshield, tucked into my grocery bags. They all say the same thing. Fifth. So if you've ever seen something strange on your security camera, tell me in the comments. I need to know I'm not the only one. And if someone ever shows up on your ring cam, someone smiling too wide, crying without sound, holding a balloon, don't answer the door. Don't look them in the eyes. Don't watch the footage too many times, because they want you to see them. They need you to. And once you do, you might be next.